השבת לדורתים ברית עולם. אישי ימים עשה אדוני, עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורתי ברית עולם.
Shabbat Shalom and welcome. My name is Barry Nicholsberg. I have the honor of being the cantorial soloist here at Temple Beth David in Snellville, Georgia. We are just outside of the state's capital, Atlanta, and we are delighted to be with you. We are a proud member of the URJ, and we are here with you for, we hope, just about an hour. We'll see if I'm good that way tonight. I'd like to start by introducing the folks who are here. First, Jim Murray, our tenor soloist, par extraordinaire. Heather Murray, who looks more like his daughter but happens to be his wife. He should be ashamed. Bobby Horowitz is our lead guitar and vice president of our board of trustees. Frank Monteleone, our guitarist, who's been with us by far the longest. Back on the board tonight is Judy Kern, our board president, who fills in at whatever level is necessary at any given moment. And happily, our streaming specialist this evening is my wife, Jeannie Nicholsberg. We are missing Denise Whitlock this evening. We hope we'll see you again soon. And Andrew St. Clair, who's normally our percussionist, could not be with us this evening. Each week I ask you, where were you last Shabbat? It's not an ethereal question. It's where were you physically and spiritually? Did you use your week well? Did you laugh? Did you cry? Did you tell anyone how much you love him or her? As we enter Shabbat, let's release the past week, its joys and its sorrows. I free myself from any misgivings or guilt. Say that for yourself. You free yourself from any misgivings or guilt. We are ready to look for new happiness and bring the best of us to new experiences during the week to come. With that, I would ask you please to turn to page 120 and 121. We will ask Heather Murray to light the Shabbat candles.
As these Shabbat candles give light, so all who behold them, so may we by ourselves give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel, who have kindled light, so may we, in our own wet day, be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'nitzivanu lahadlek ner shel Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech Olam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik
thank you for being with us this evening. I'll ask you please to turn to page 138 in the Mishkan Tefillah for Lecha Dodi. And because we didn't figure this out beforehand, I'm going to just give a nice cue for the rest of the folks up here on the beamer with me. We'll do the la 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 Lecha Dodi. Okay?
La 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 Lecha Dodi. La 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 Lecha Kalam. La 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 Panei Shabbat. Panei Shabbat Kaballat. Shamor v'zakor Yidurecha Yisrael Erhanucha Adonai Echad U'Shemo Echad V'Shem La 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 Lecha Dodi. La 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 Lecha Kalam. La 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 Panei Shabbat. Panei Shabbat Kaballat. Hitoreri. Panei Shabbat, Panei Shabbat Kaballat.
Please rise and sing more spiritual.
Oi Shalom, Yitzerena, Hamzina,
Let's bow and greet pride.
La 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 Lecha Dodi. La 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 Lecha Kalam. La 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 Panei Shabbat. Panei Shabbat Nikah. Panei Shabbat Nikah. Panei Shabbat Nikah.
Thank you. Please be seated. I'm going to ask you please to turn to page 144 in the Mishkan Tefillah, and I will ask Bobby Horowitz if he would please lead us in the Chatzi Kaddish.
Yikadal, Yikadash, Shmei Rabbah, V'amad Yivarach Hirutei, V'yamlich Malchutei, V'chayechon u'v'yomechon, u'v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, Bagala, Bagala, u'v'zman kariv, v'imiru, Amen. Yeshmei Rabbah Mevorach, Le'olam Ulam Me'omaya, Yitbarach, Yitbarach, V'yishtabach, Yitbar, Yitramam, Yitnaseh, V'hadar v'tale v'talal Shemei Kudashah Barichu Leila min kol birchata v'shirata Tushbechata v'nechemata Damiran b'alma v'meru
Amen. Would you please turn to page 146. Get ready for 152 and 154 as well. I will ask you to rise for the call to worship, the Baruch. From that, we're going straight into the Shema on 152, and from there, we will go straight into the V'ahavta on page 154. We'll start on page 156 with the Baruch. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Baruch et Adonai standing, turn to page 152 for the Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem, Kivod Malchuto, Leolam Va'ed. You may be seated. Turn to page 154. Join me, please, in chanting the V'ahavta. This is, as I say, every week in the original cantation, which is found in the Torah, and for tens of thousands of synagogues around the world, whether they are Ashkenazi or Sephardic, when it comes to the V'ahavta, it all sounds exactly the same. This tune has been passed down for at least 3,500 years from person to person. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom alevavecha v'shinatam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shiftecha b'veitecha u'v'leftecha v'derech u'v'shovtecha u'v'kumecha Ukshatam le'od al yadecha v'hayu lo totafot ben einecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'visharecha Leman tiskaru ve'asitem et kel mitzvotai v'yetem kadoshim leloechem Ani Adonai Elohechem Asher hotzechem me'eretz Mitzrayim leot lachem lelohim Ani Adonai Elohechem Adonai Elohechem emet. Would you please turn to page 157 and read along with me, starting with In a World. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt, we were delivered. At Sinai, we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again, we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in the dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea. Page 158, please join in singing Mi Chamocha.
La 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Ya la la la, ya la 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 la. Mikamo kaparino onai, mikamo kaneda vokodesh, Torah tehillah osefele, Torah tehillah osefele. Maratu tekara yukamela, Teyadim Sheil Miriam, Teyadim Miriam.
I doubt that any of you were wondering prior to our going live this evening what we might have been doing here. In fact, we were rehearsing a new song, Hashkivenu. We're not going to sing it tonight because we're just not 100% there, and you deserve 100%. But I hope by a week from tonight, you will hear that version of Hashkivenu. It is absolutely breathtakingly gorgeous. Not that this one isn't, that one is. With that, my favorite lullaby of all time, this one we will do in Hebrew and then in English. On page 160, please join us in singing Hashkivenu. We're having a moment's hesitation here. It's okay. On page 160, Hashkivenu.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu L'Shalom, L'Shalom, V'hamidenu Malakenu L'Chaim. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Amen. Shelter us beneath thy wings, O Adonai. Adonai, keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Teach us, God, wrong from right. Amen. Amen. Amen.
Thank you for joining us on that. I am now going to ask you to turn to page 164 and rise for the tefillah. Page 164.
Anananananana Adonai, Anananananana Satai Tikta, Anananananana Uki Yagi Tahilatecha, Anananananana Adonai, Anananananana Satai Tikta, Anananananana Uki Yagi Tahilatecha, Anananananana Adonai, Anananananana Satai Tikta, Anananananana Uki Yagi Tahilatecha.
Page 166.
Adonai, Eloheinu, Eloheinu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, El Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, Elyon, Gomer Chazim Tovim, V'Komeh HaKol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot V'Imahot, U'Megula Livnei Bneihem, L'Ma'an Shemo B'Yahava, Melech Ozer U'Mashiach U'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Abraham V'Eretz Sarah.
Page 168.
Atar Gibor Leolam Adonai, Mikayeh HaKol Atar Le'Oshia, Mashiv HaRuach U'Orin HaGashem, Mikayel Hayim Bechesed, Mikayel HaKol Berachim Rabim, Somek Noflim Ve'Rofech Olim, Umatir Asorim, Kayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Mikamocha Bal Geverot, Umidomelach, Melech Mamit, Kayem, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'nmatach HaKol, Baruch Atah Adonai, Mikayeh HaKol.
Page 170.
Atah Kadosh, V'Shimcha Kadosh, U'Kadoshim B'Kol Yom Yahalelucha Selah. Baruch Atah Adonai, HaEl HaKadosh.
Please be seated. Our worlds are busy and noisy. Traffic jams, horns blaring, cell phones ringing, text messages buzzing. Too often we hear without listening. Let's take a moment to embrace the gift that only the quiet in your own minds and in this sanctuary can deliver. I invite you to join me in praying silently. If you will turn to page 374, you will find the words to Etz Chaim He, which we will be singing next. Back a couple pages to page 371. Join me in the middle of the page, starting with May the One. May the One who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebekah, Rachel, Leah, Zilpah, Bilhah, and Tamar, bless and heal those who are ill. May the Blessed Holy One be filled with compassion for their health to be restored and for their strength to be revived. May God send them swiftly a complete renewal of body and spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Amen.
If you have names you would like to add to this week's Misha Berach list, I would invite you now to type them into the chat box, and Jeannie will read them aloud.
Fred Singer, Sarah Gambrell, Katie Walmer, Morris and Felice Friedman, Peter Yarrow, Sandy Steinberger, Katie Fink, Linda and Steve Ely, COVID long haulers, all of Ukraine, Patty Beeman, Leanne Dillard, Frank and Roxana Gomez, Steve and Linda Ely, Arlen and Rick Conley, Eddie Young, Tanya Hurst, Penny Elliott, Sandy Tejan, Lisa Miller, Leo and Juanita Clausen, Debbie and Dennis Clausen, Polly Contos, Sarah Boost, Mike Roth, Dennis Sadler, Lisa Ann Gaston, Jackie Freeman, Don Freeman, Robert Whitlock, Barbara Whitlock, Terry Hurst, Sid Sigmund.
Judy, do you have any names you'd like to add this evening? Frank?
Chrissy, Nick and Connie Spinelli, Bill and Jasmine Milligan, Nicole Gabante, Catherine Seidel, Carmela Spinelli, Jim Wade, and Rabbi Fred Matkin.
Thank you. Bobby?
Susie Horowitz, Keith Hood, Edwin Speck, Andrew Wheeler.
Thank you. Heather?
Lexi Scalar, Summer and Nash, Teresa Martin, Mike Martin.
And Jim?
And Jeff Scalar.
Thank you. I would like to add Linda Ely, Barbara Jo Babbitt, Margaret Pennington, Laura Friedman, Maria Zolar, Wendy Fine, Kenny Woodruff, Shelley Perkle, Teresa Martin, Andrew St. Clair, Robin Van Loo, Joanne Stein, Kevin Middleton, Brenda Gibson, Mickey D'Amato, Peter Yarrow, Anya Polara, Ben DeSalvo, Marie Plakos, Benjamin Crone, and all those who have been affected by COVID-19, and all those who are in Ukraine right now, fearing for their lives. Jeannie, I understand you have a couple more names.
Linda Zedell, Jane Casso.
Thank you. Would you please join us on page 374, singing Misha Berach. 371, Misha Berach.
May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misheberach imotenu mikor habraka leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Thank you. I've yet to find an easy parsha, and tonight is no exception. I read it and reread it, read it again. And regrettably, I did come up with an answer, but I don't like it. With all that's going on in the world right now, the pandemic, everything that's going on in the Ukraine, the rise in anti-Semitism, the growing effects of climate change, to name just a few of the issues we're facing right now, we may ask, what impact can I have I'm one person. The old man is walking on a beach and sees a boy in a field of starfish on the beach. And the boy is picking one up and throwing it back into the water. And picks up another and throws it back. And the man says to him, "Son, what's the point? There are thousands of them here." And he said, "Well, it helps this one." One person can make all the difference. When each piece comes together, the end result is greater than the sum of its parts. Which brings us to part of this evening's Parsha. This evening we talk about the building of the tabernacle. And everyone has different roles in the construction. And God gives Moses the exact steps necessary to complete it. This is the tent of the holies. It is meant to be transportable as they move. Some people gather materials. Some spin yarn. Some do metalwork. The tasks are divided throughout the community. So far, so good. So what makes me, you, so special? We're one person. If I don't do it, Jim will do it. Jim doesn't do it, Heather will do it. If Heather doesn't do it, Jeannie will take care of it. If Jeannie doesn't do it, Judy does everything. She'll do it for sure. So, what difference do I make? Some of you may have heard this before. I believe it comes from the U.S. Civil War in the mid-1860s. For loss of a nail, the shoe was lost. For loss of the shoe, the horse was lost. For loss of the horse, the battle was lost. And for loss of the battle, the war was lost. One nail. What's one nail got to do with anything? What's one person have to do with anything? We are individually vital. We are filling a much needed role in our society, whether we know it or not. What I'm asking is that we become conscious of that role. Margaret Mead said, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed individuals can change the world. In fact, it's the only thing that ever has." One person can't do everything. It's not possible. Not even Moses could do everything. But he asked the people to gather materials, and they may have thought, well, what's the point? I'm just bringing a fill in the blank. How important could that be? It might have been that one nail. We know all too well today, not just what's going on in Ukraine, but what's going on right here at home, that there is evil in this world. The rise of anti-Semitism is not make-believe. It's very real. There are people in society today who are absolutely bent on creating a race war. Why? What do they get out of it? But they are very focused, very determined. When we work together toward a brighter future, the evil and striving can't win. justice prevails. And that's all we want. Justice, justice, you shall pursue. In the Pirkei Avot, Rabbi Tarfon says, "It is not your duty to finish the work, but neither are you at liberty to neglect it." Just like every Israelite had a role in building the tabernacle, so too do we have a role in building a better tomorrow. This evening's Parsha is a reminder that though we may never see the results of our actions, when we work together or working separately, we can accomplish great things. Well, there were two men who history has remembered but forgotten. I know that seems a bit odd, but it's true. They are mentioned in this week's Parsha. They are. And I will all but guarantee you've never heard of them. But just like Bilhah and Zilpah and Tamar and Nachon, here at Temple Beth David in Snellville, Georgia, we're going to remember them. The greatest thing you can do for someone else is remember. The worst thing is to forget. Bezalel was one of the Israelites. Oholiab was another of the Israelites. God looked down and said, I want these two men to carve all the intricacies of the Holy Tabernacle. They created with what was brought to them by the Israeli people. All of the wood, all of the gold, all of the fine silver. And they created the Ark of the Covenant. It was created exactly as God told Moses it should be. All of its intricacies. I think it's time we remember these two. Well, what can one person do? Well, think about it. One person led an army. One person led 6 million Israelites and Egyptians across the Sea of Reeds. One person. It wasn't Moses. It's Nachon. He led. We each have a role. If you want to build a building, it's difficult to do it by yourself. Perhaps it can be done. But if you bring in other people to help, the job is much easier. And we each have a time in space. I have no doubt that someone else, Jim certainly, will take over my role when I step down. He will, because he's in the right place at the right time and he's the right guy. But what are all the things that had to happen for that to line up? Jeannie and I could have moved anywhere. We didn't have to move to Snellville. We went to other synagogues, but quite frankly, they didn't feel like the right fit. This one did. Little did we know that I would ever be tapped to be a cantor. And beyond that, to lead services, it was never in my mind's eye, never. It was never a hope, it was never an aspiration. It just happened. People say, well, it was a coincidence. There's no such thing as coincidence. There never has been, there never will be. You can take matters into your own hands, absolutely. And I hope you do. To play one role, obviously a critical role, even if you don't understand that it's a critical role. And that's the point. Well, I'm just, I'm here, what's the difference? Who am I? Well, who are you? And what can you bring to the tabernacle? You don't have to be Bazalel. You don't have to. All you have to do is bring him some gold so that he can fashion. It takes both. He didn't have the gold. He didn't even know where to look for it. But when it was in his hands, it could become magic, and it did. I want you to think, please think this week. What role do you play? How can you accept it without, it's really nothing. It's not nothing. Anybody could do it. It's not that anybody could do it. Well, no. Accept the fact that you are a critical and vital cog in this wheel. Whether it has to do with Temple Beth David or Snellville, Georgia or the United States or the world, you do make a difference, a vital and critical difference. I ask you to think about the things that really inspire you. Don't worry about what's in your wheelhouse, a term I don't particularly like. This absolutely was not in my wheelhouse. You can make a difference. Think about it, embrace it, enjoy it, share it, and pass it on to the next generation. Not with hate, but with love. Shabbat Shalom. Please turn to page 186 and rise for the Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol l'ateit gedolah le'otzeh b'reshit שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה שלא שם חלקנו כהם וגורלנו ככל המונם ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא שהוא השמיים ועושה הארץ מושיע כבוד בשמיים מימון ושינת זו Shinatsu so, Elohim Elohim. 588. For you spread out the heavens and established the earth. Your majestic abode is in the heavens above, and your mighty presence is in the loftiest heights. You are our God, and there's none else. In truth, you are our sovereign without compare, as is written in your Torah. Know then this day and take it to heart that Adonai is surely God in the heavens above and on the earth below. There is none else. Page 591. I think if you're conscious, you know what's going on in the Ukraine. We here at Temple Beth David have a very active member who was born and raised there. Our hearts go out to her and her family. What's happening there isn't fair. It's not right. And so I have a prayer, not just for Ukraine, but for all of us. Our God and God of our ancestors, bless the Ukrainian people in this, their dire hour of need. Help people everywhere understand the blessings of our lives and circumstances, to be vigilant, compassionate, and brave. Strengthen us when we are afraid. Help motivate us to action. Help all of us to understand that our silence is complicity. Help us to be generous with others so that we raise each other up. Help us to be humble, knowing that as vulnerable as we feel, there are those at greater risk, and that it is our holy work to stand with them. Adonai, help us to taste the sweetness of liberty. Do not take for granted the freedoms won in generations past, that we may play a part to heal and nourish democracy. Source of all life, guide our world leaders with righteousness, strengthen their hearts and keep them from hardening, that they may use their influence and authority to speak truth to power. May people of every nation raise their voices in the name of justice, peace, and equality for all. May we be strong and have courage to be bold in our actions and deep in our compassion to discern when we must listen and when we must act to uproot blind aggression, intolerance, and violence in all its forms. And finally, let us celebrate the many faces of God, reflected in the wondrous diversity of humanity, to welcome the stranger and the immigrant. Let justice well up like water and righteousness like a mighty stream. And let us say, Amen.
Amen.
Page 599. We think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at this season in years past, and those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own. Of them all we say, Zichronam livracha, may their memories always, always be for a blessing. If you are in the period of Shiva, the first 7 days since someone passed, please say it aloud or put that name in the chat. Jeannie, you have a name.
Brady Rowe.
If you are in the period of Shloshim, the first 30 days since someone has passed, we are in a period of Shloshim for Randy, please. We also remember these who have passed, have been very close to us or members of the synagogue itself. These people have passed within the past 12 months. Irma Schiller, Phyllis Blooming, Daniel Joseph Middleton, Larry Kramer, David Yarborough, Sylvia Cart, Rossi Davis, Jack Smith, Laura Russiak Rosen, Louis Jutsi, Michael Bernard, Annette Carter, Edna Dockerman, Robert Diskin, Erwin Finkelman, Mickey Kroll, Daniel Roach, Nicholas Collins, Ed Gallup, Frank Perrone. Also, those who passed at this very time of year, who were integral part of this synagogue. Belle Rappaport, Eli Cherkis, Judy Copsey, and Bertha Aspler Weissman. Are there any other names you would like to add at this time? Please join me on page 598. And please rise physically and or spiritually as we become a congregation of one to support those who are mourning. Yitgadal v'yitadash Shmei Rabbah Bi'alma divrach hirutei Bi'amlich malchutei B'chayachom u'v'yomechom u'v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael Ba'agala u'vizman karih imru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'almei omaya Yitvarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yithalev v'yithalal shemed kudusha baruchu le'ela mimkol b'chata v'shirata tush b'chata v'nechemata da'amiran b'alma v'yimru Amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shamaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru Amen. Oseh shalom bimroma uyaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru Amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and all Israel, and let us say, Amen. If Hamirah is in the book, I don't know what page it's on. But I do invite you to sing, because the chorus has only 2 words, hum and ha. Hum. hum and ha. I hope you enjoy it.
Hum ha 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 hum ha ha hum ha ha hum hum ha ha hum ha ha hum ha ha hum hum ha hum ha hum ha hum hum
songs that fill my soul. That is definitely one of them. It is time for announcements. I will ask Jeannie to read what announcements she has, please.
Please continue to read your emails for TBD announcements and event details. There will be a Social Action Committee meeting on Zoom on Tuesday, March 1st at 7 o'clock. Details were sent by email, and they're on the calendar page of our website. We want to thank Officer Devon for keeping us safe tonight and every time he puts on his uniform.
I would also like to congratulate Barry and Janet Abbas. This Sunday will be their 39th wedding anniversary. Also, great birthday wishes to Michael Roth tomorrow, Judy Epstein Monday, Felice Friedman next Wednesday, Jackie Fletcher Horowitz also next Wednesday, and Lillian Zell next Thursday. To all of you, congratulations. Thank you for being part of Temple Beth David. With that, I would ask you please to rise spiritually and or physically for the priestly blessing. Yivarechecha.
Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha.
May the Lord bless you and keep you.
Yair Adonai b'no elecha v'yichunecha.
May the Lord's face shine upon you and be gracious unto you.
Yisa Adonai b'no elecha v'yasem lecha shalom.
May the Lord's face turn toward you and grant you peace.
V'yasem lecha shalom.
May you go from strength to strength. Shabbat Shalom.